Well, that was Sylvester Stallone taking a page from Chuck Norris and rescuing POWs from a Vietnam prison camp. I thought Norris rescued all the prisoners from the Vietnam prison camps. Well, this scene is from the long-awaited sequel to First Blood called Rambo. Long-awaited by you, I'm sure, Jeffrey. And Rambo is one of 4 big early summer movies that we've got for you on this week's sneak previews. I'm Neil Gabler.
And yes, I'm still Jeffrey Lyons. And in addition to Rambo, we'll have A View to a Kill. That's the latest James Bond thriller starring Roger Moore. And Brewster's Millions with Richard Pryor, who inherits a fortune but with lots of strings attached. And Katharine Hepburn as a batty old lady in Grace Quigley. And Michael Medved will bestow his Golden Turkey Awards on the worst movies of the month. Neil's first with A View to a Kill, the latest doings of James Bond.
And what a way to start the summer season. First of all, the title, A View to a Kill. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I don't know what it means. Well, our first movie is indeed the new James Bond adventure called, as I said, A View to a Kill. And this time what's going on is that Bond is investigating a very, very wealthy industrialist who's planning something big, but nobody knows exactly what he's planning. Now here, Bond has gone to Paris to gather some information about this guy when a killer ruins his meal and sets off a chase at the Eiffel Tower.
Follow the parachute. No, read English, sir. Out. Hello. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
I think you expect a little bit more from James Bond than just a routine car chase. At least I do. Well, if you really care about the details of the plot, and I know you care about these details, Jeffrey, the industrialist, who's played by Christopher Walken, has a scheme. Now, he's going to blast a big hole near the San Andreas Fault in California and flood Silicon Valley, where they make all those microchips and things for computers. And that way, you know what he's going to do? He's going to corner the world microchip market.
Wow.
But Bond and a beautiful geologist, this is big stuff, none other than Tanya Roberts from Charlie's Angels, are onto his scheme, and they're out to stop him and his deadly accomplice, none other than Grace Jones.
Get him. Come on, give me a hand.
Hurry!
Quick, somebody! Keep climbing! Keep going!
I tell you, I never thought that I would be saying this because I have always been a really big James Bond fan, but I think that 007 may have finally run out of gas. You know the opening chase sequences in these movies, how they always try something new, trying to top the last picture? Well, this time, it's another ski chase, real big surprise, which we've seen a dozen times before in other Bond movies. And that sets the tone, I think, for this whole sorry mess here. A View to a Kill just has got no imagination to it. It doesn't even have that old Bond campiness and humor, all those sexual double entendres. It doesn't have any gadgets in it. It's not even well crafted. You know what? The whole movie feels tired. as if the filmmaker sat around and said, well, guys, it's time to make another Bond picture, but nobody's heart really seems to be in A View to a Kill. And so the movie just goes through the motions. It is the worst James Bond movie yet. I think it's still going to make $100 million, but it's the worst James Bond movie.
Pretty dead in the water. You know, it looks like, it reminds me of the time they took those Peter Sellers outtakes and put them together as a movie.
In a Pink Panther film.
Here, Roger Moore, whom I always liked, doesn't even have a chance to show much of the humor. You can't get the rapport with the Bond, his idea of the Bond characterization. It's the script's fault. It meanders here and there. Tanya Roberts, we're talking Sheena here, Neil. You know, she adds absolutely nothing to her character. She's a complete waste. There's none of the allure and the mystery of some of the Bond women. With that in mind, they may have put in an affair he has briefly with a beautiful Russian agent as an afterthought. Grace Jones is interesting to look at, but her character isn't developed enough. None of the things are brought to the fore here. None of the things are developed enough, and we're left with people, as you say, going through the motions.
But you don't need plot development, really. What you need is imagination. You need little surprises here and there. You need things that are grander than the old pictures have.
I want my gadgets, and I didn't get my gadgets. Nothing. Well, so two no's
on this, and I'm reluctant to say that about a James Bond picture.
That's right. Well, our next movie, meanwhile, is called Brewster's Millions. It's a comedy starring Richard Pryor as a washed-up minor league pitcher who will inherit, he suddenly learns, a fortune from his cantankerous old uncle. $300 million to be precise. That's a fortune. But only if he can spend $30 million in just 30 days, with the condition that he can't tell anyone why he's spending all that money. In this scene, Pryor's just learned of his bizarre good fortune, and his teammate and buddy, the team's catcher, John Candy, knows only that something strange, something very strange, has just happened.
What are you talking? Would you mind filling me in? What the hell is going on? What's wrong? What did they do to you in there?
What do you mean? What did they do to me? I think I just inherited $30 million. Think.
Oh, is that all? I thought we did something wrong. $30 million. Why didn't you tell me $30 million? $30 million? You kidding me? Like I was saying, money's my best friend. I mean, things like this just don't happen every day. I mean, this is incredible news. $30 million. The manager's got $30 million given to him. This is a good day, you know. We're always going to remember this day. $30 million. That makes us rich. Well, not us. It makes him rich. What a great day we're having. Me, he's having a wonderful day. But I'm having a good time, too. I'm his best friend. I don't know if I told you that or not.
This is real money.
Well, we're going to have a lot of fun with this kind of money.
This is the real deal.
It is indeed, Mr. Brewster. Now, let's not be rash with our newfound money.
Right. Jake, I'd like to hire you as my official photographer. Salary, $10,000 a week.
$10,000 a week? This guy's a jerk, money.
Shut up, I accept.
What do you need a guy like this around for?
Not bad for a guy who didn't finish his first year of college, wouldn't you say?
Oh, you're doing great, but I don't think you inherited me with your money, Mr. Brewster.
That beautiful woman there was Lynetta McGee, by the way, who is the accountant who's been hired to monitor just how he spends the money each day. But soon, Pryor has become an instant celebrity around town, trying desperately to spend $1 million a day. It's not easy. Only a pittance, furthermore, can go to charity under the conditions, by the way, and he's also got to get value for his money. Now, in this scene, Candy, Pryor's best friend and the catcher on the team, has used up some of the money Pryor's given him to buy a new wardrobe. And now it's Pryor's turn to improve the quality of his threads, too.
Nice, huh?
They're in the bedroom.
Thanks for your help. Money! Money, pal! Hey, pal, get a load of this.
Get a load?
Huh? What do you think? I found it all in one shop, from the shoes all the way up to this. This was made for Johnny Bench. He didn't pick up, so they gave it to me. A catcher's mask. Oh, money, I can't thank you enough.
It's, what do you think? Huh?
Hey, they just made that for you?
Yeah.
Wow. Honest?
Honest.
Too conservative for me.
What are you
For
talking?
me? Look, this is the new Spike Nolan here.
I know, but this is great.
Well, great on you, but Grady's your accountant. Very nice.
Yeah, she's nice, but she thinks I'm a lowlife.
Well, I can understand that.
Get out of here. What are you
What?
talking about? Gentlemen, do you think I'm a lowlife? Oh, no, Mr. Brewster.
Mr. Brewster, not with these clothes.
See what I mean?
No, see what I mean? Brewster's Millions, you see, has a few laughs here and there, thanks mainly to Pryor, as usual, the bewildered innocent, and Candy, the lovable buffoon, trying to spend that fortune furiously. But the script isn't terribly interesting. Given the enormous potential for such a premise, Pryor should have been much hipper, much more biting, as only he can be. And Candy, well, he's too controlled here. He's a fine second banana. But he should have done many more outrageous things, kind of the way he did in Splash. But we get next to nothing of that here. The movie chugs along in spots. It seems forced, and the humor, well, it's almost an afterthought. Oh, we see that money isn't everything, but you think all that money could have bought a far funnier script.
I think you're a little hard on this movie.
Why?
I mean, there's a lot of missed opportunities here, but I sort of liked it. But, you know, a friend of mine saw this movie and said something interesting. She said, what I expected was sort of like Beverly Hills Cop. You see Pryor adjusting to having all of this money, and you don't get that. And that triggered off something in my mind. Pryor made his reputation out of being a black jive comedian. And he's not black in this movie.
That's right.
In fact, there are only 2 or 3 references to the fact that he's black in this movie. He's playing so straight and so contained that it's not the old Richard Pryor.
He's lost all the energy here. I also came to mind, Trading Places came to mind, because that's in effect what Pryor does too in the story, and you can only see what a far funnier picture that was. I kept waiting for the laughs given this wonderful, bizarre premise, and they just didn't come.
Okay, well, let me give the bright side on this. I think he's likable, I think Candy's funny, and I think the premise is foolproof. You sit there, and you're spending the money along with them.
Actors in search of comedy.
It's a very mild endorsement, but I give it an endorsement. Now, on to our next picture. I think it's always an occasion whenever Katharine Hepburn makes a movie.
She could make a good movie if she played the slacks-wearing Katharine Hepburn around New York, the kind of character she is in real life, not one that perpetuates an ageist, is that the right word, an ageist stereotype of a little old lady with the hat on running around with the
I work with the senior citizen.
I mean, nice.
Pathetic you have never been. Cute sometimes.
But seriously, Neil, this is a time when elderly people are fighting for their rights,
You're absolutely right.
when their benefits are being cut off for one reason or another, and they show that life should be worth living. Not that every old person wants to die and hire some hitman. There's also no chemistry between her and Nick Nolte. She admired him in other films and wanted to work with him. There's no relationship between them. It's not only a bad film, it's an embarrassing one, too.
Yeah. The script doesn't feel complete or polished.
Absolutely
They
not.
undergo character changes for no reason whatsoever.
Wrong idea for a movie. Well, our next movie is Rambo: First Blood 2, a sequel to the very successful Sylvester Stallone film called First Blood. This time, Rambo, a tough, decorated, highly trained Vietnam War veteran, is sent back to Vietnam. He sprung from prison, allegedly to find and just to photograph any American soldiers still missing in action there. But Rambo, of course, doesn't stop there. He's Rambo. He doesn't take pictures alone. He rescues a prisoner of war. And when he returns to the drop site for his rendezvous, he and the MIA are suddenly left behind. And Rambo realizes the mission has been mysteriously aborted. And in this scene, his trusted superior back at the base, Richard Crenna, warns the bureaucrat who betrayed Rambo he's made a big mistake.
What are you doing? Do you know what the hell you've done?
Don't act so innocent, Colonel. You had your suspicions, and if you suspected then, you're sort of an accessory, aren't you?
Don't ever count me with you and your scum. It was a lie, wasn't it? Just like the whole damn war. It was a lie.
What are you talking about?
That camp was supposed to be empty. Rambo goes in, a decorated vet. He finds no POWs. The Congress buys it, case closed. And if he happens to get caught, nobody knows he's alive except you and your computers. And you can reprogram that, can't you?
Who the hell do you think you're talking to, Troutman?
A stinking bureaucrat that's trying to cover it.
No, not just mine, Troutman. We're talking about a nation's. Besides, it was your hero's fault. Now, if your warrior had gone in, done what the hell he was supposed to do, we'd be out of this clean and simple. And if I were you, I'd never make the mistake of bringing this subject up again.
You're the one who's making the mistake.
Yeah, what mistake?
Rambo.
That's in case we forgot the name of the movie. Now, meanwhile, back in the jungles of Vietnam, Rambo, with plenty of time on his hands, I guess, decides to pass some of the day by stripping off his shirt, flexing his pectorals. That takes up some of the day.
There are close-ups of his biceps.
Close-ups of his biceps, and he begins to take on the entire Vietnamese army and a few sadistic Russians for good measure in an impossible-to-believe one-man war. Rambo is filled with continuous action scenes like this one you're about to see, in which our hero flees a helicopter attack. love those Noel Coward musicals, don't you? Beyond all its incessant preaching to us about MIAs and Vietnam veterans, Rambo is supposed to be an adventure movie, I guess, but any adventure movie should be at least remotely believable to give it an edge of suspense. But not Rambo, not for a second. Bullets seem to bounce off Stallone's mighty chest, or the enemy soldiers whom you saw there briefly must have been trained by the gang that couldn't shoot straight. How did that guy miss from the helicopter? Impossible. And no escape is impossible for Rambo either. No physical feat beyond his enormous strength. When he isn't growling his lines, Stallone flexes his muscles and preens in front of the camera. Give me a break. It really gets annoying. The stunts and action sequences are all right, I suppose, but the predictable story is moronic. One tiresome familiar escape or confrontation after another, and constant explosions, and no sufficiently clear reason, furthermore, why he was betrayed by his superiors. Sorry, Rambo, I'll take Rocky anytime. What an annoying movie.
Will I.
Oh.
I think the plausibility factor in this movie is
Zilch.
it's going to make probably $1 zillion, but it goes wrong for me
So did swine flu
virtually in the
vaccine,
first
you know?
30 seconds. When they call out his name and you see this close-up of Stallone and he turns toward the camera with that sneer on his face as if to say, aren't you lucky to be in the theater? The narcissism
Absolutely.
of Stallone keeps on getting in the way of your identification with the character.
It's like he filmed the movie looking into the mirror. It looks like it's made by Narcissistic Productions.
Well, he doesn't want you to
Inc.
identify with the hero,
No,
which
you
is all
can't.
right. He wants you to worship him, to kiss his ring, and to put him, you know, in your house on the television
And
set
I don't
on a
need,
cross.
I don't
it's
need him to
incredible.
preach to me about the plight of MIAs or Vietnam veterans or prisoners of war. That comes from my own heart, and that's what this movie is. It's a silly polemic.
Yeah, keeps on stopping for
please.
these preachments. I'll tell you, if he's really sincere, and maybe he's doing this, I don't know, he ought to give part of his salary for this movie to Vietnam vets.
That's how
for all
preachy
the
it is,
talk
absolutely.
that he gives to Vietnam vets in this movie. I really don't like this film.
Totally
We've looked at
missable.
a lot of bad movies this week, but we are not the only ones who are looking at bad movies. Up in our projection booth, there is Michael Medved with his Golden Turkey Awards for the worst movies that he's seen this month. Michael?
Thank you, Neil and Jeffrey. Americans love fads, whether it's goldfish swallowing, hula hoops, pet rocks, or breakdancing. Sometimes the movie business tries to cash in on these quirks, and now, just in time for summer, come two trendy turkeys that are tailor-made to promote bizarre new fads. Thank you, Moose. Maybe you haven't yet heard of the exciting new martial art called Gymkata. It was specially designed for the movie debut of world champion gymnast Kurt Thomas. And in it, he uses deadly backflips and lethal somersaults to decimate his unsuspecting opponents. The film begins when the CIA recruits an Olympic gymnast, played by guess who, for a deadly mission to a mysterious East European country inhabited exclusively by black-clad ninja killers. Our hero naturally falls in love with the local princess, a former Miss Philippines, who has somehow become the daughter of an Armenian Shah. The best part of this exotic and utterly confused fantasy land is that its ancient streets come conveniently supplied with all sorts of gymnastic equipment that turns up magically whenever Kurt Thomas is in trouble. And moviegoers everywhere are in trouble when producers try to turn a successful music or dance fad into a successful motion picture. They've already run breakdancing into the ground, and next year they're supposed to release a new picture called Breakdancers from Mars. Honest. But this year, it's the turn of rapping. Now, you might think that this rhymed hip-hop urban sensation that's supposed to be sweeping right through our nation would never provide an adequate basis for a motion picture, and you'd be absolutely right. This movie tells the story of Rappin' Hood and his merry men, a lovable bunch of guys who spend their time stealing car radios, raiding food warehouses, putting down chumps who hold regular jobs, and talking to each other in rhyme. On the plus side, production values are slick, and Mario Van Peebles, who plays Rappin' Hood, is an appealing leading man. The only problem is that he doesn't know how to rap, and all of his rapping scenes that are supposed to be spontaneous expressions of his inner self are actually done with very bad lip syncing. So in conclusion, what I have to say about this movie is that they tried to exploit this thing called rap and came up with this movie that's a big piece of pap. If you pay to go see it, they'll come at us again with a sequel about Rappin' Hood and his merry men. So lay back at home and listen to my plea, or there'll be one more jive turkey that I'll have to see. I'm Michael Medved.
Thank you, Michael. And speaking of golden turkeys, Neil, I read where they are going to make Rambo 3.
Someday, Rambo will meet Rocky and Stallone will be
Leave
play both
me
roles.
alone. That's right. Well, summarizing now our opinions on the movies we reviewed this week, Neither Neil nor I cared for A View to a Kill, the badly titled, latest, and one of the least satisfying James Bond movie. I like Roger Moore, but the movie is lifeless and tiresome and devoid of imagination. We had a mild disagreement on Brewster's Millions, meanwhile, with Richard Pryor trying to spend $1 million a day so he can inherit a larger fortune in 1 month. I thought it a good idea, but a flat, unfunny screenplay. Neil thinks it has more misses than hits, but Pryor and Candy are likable enough to make it passable. But we both know, emphatically so, on Grace Quigley. It's a black comedy without any nerve at all. And Neil felt more pity for Katharine Hepburn than anything else. And as for Rambo, the less said the better. We agree, it's narcissistic, unbelievable, and infuriatingly preachy.
And he shows more of his body than Bo Derek does in Bolero.
Oh, boy.
Well, that's it for this week's Sneak Previews.